what an honor to be here with all of you and with my hero, Judy Sills. So can we just give Judy another round of applause? We all need heroes. We all need people who inspire us, and Judy inspires me every day. And all of you, the work you do inspires me too. And sometimes there are days when I really need that. So, as Rachel said, when I was here last year, I'd been on the job. I'd left the bubble of San Francisco and went to Sacramento. And I had no idea really truly what was in store for me. And what I want to share with you in my 10 minutes today is a little bit how I got here, and then some of the lessons of the last year and a half. When I started, since I've been back, I've gone through Senate confirmation and all the political footballs that entails. I have been working on some groundbreaking regulations, getting the pushback on that. That's phenomenal, and just getting beaten from all sides. So I'm gonna share with you how I am coping with that, so that when you go out and start to think big on the Walmart scale or whatever else Andy has proposed, some lessons that I've learned as I've been trying to do that. So where did I start? I started life in Southern California, the daughter of a physicist. And so when you're the daughter of a physicist and you are sitting around the breakfast table, always what seems to come up is science and the power of science. And so I grew up with the idea that the most noble thing there is to be a scientist, because that's where the answers happen. The answers happen at the level of the researcher. And so I was a good daughter who decided I wanted to be just like my dad. So I went to Berkeley, and then I went to UCLA as in graduate school, and I was going to be a PhD, I was going to be a professor just like my dad. And I realized about 3 years into it that I was really in the wrong place. That while I love science deeply, what I really want to do is change the world. And to do that as a researcher takes way too long. And I was impatient, and I wanted to do something now. I wanted to make a difference now. So I left grad school, an all-but dissertation on my PhD. Hardest thing I did in my life. I cried literally for 2 years, every day, thinking I was a quitter and a failure because I didn't do what I set out to do. I had I was like one of those really driven people. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I tried to figure out what was next. And so in order to figure out what was next, I had to look deep inside and ask myself, who am I? What do I believe in? And I eventually, I went through being a teacher, worked at the Exploratorium. For those of you who are local here, it's a wonderful science museum. And I realized that my gift to the world, what I really love to do, is take science and make something happen with it. Not just explain it, but do something with it. And I found for me, after lots of different jobs, that the place I could do that was government. That wasn't something I ever started thinking about. I never thought about who is in government. What does it mean to be a bureaucrat? I would argue it's a civil servant. And that's what I have discovered, is the power of being a civil servant and what I can do to change the world. One of the lessons that my father gave me was the importance of asking the right question. As a scientist, he would always say, the main thing you do is you must ask the right question in your research project. And I actually found this quote from Einstein recently that says it much better than even my father could. Sorry, Dad. Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. And it gives me chills just to read it, because it is phenomenally powerful and radical and true. Getting to the right question. The problem I found was that the scientists weren't asking the right question. So when I was looking in the environmental world, what are the questions that government was asking in order to try and heal the world or prevent harm? They were asking, the laws of our land were asking the wrong question. And the question they were asking is, how much harm is allowable? So that means, is it safe enough? 5 cancers in a million, 1 cancer in a million. That's the way our system is set up. When we look at a chemical and a consumer product, we ask, is it safe enough? What is an acceptable level of harm? But that's the wrong question. Really, the question we want to ask is how little harm is possible. It's a really different question. How little harm is possible? Is there a safer alternative? Is there a better way of doing it? Whether it's the fork, one could say, well, is the middle of the fork necessary? But you could also say, is a plastic fork necessary, right? So getting at the right question is key. So I've been working for 20 years in government, 21 and a half now, trying to get government to ask the right questions. And the way I frame it is this question of necessity. Is it necessary? Is it necessary to put formaldehyde in carpet adhesive? Is it necessary to have lead in lipstick? Is it necessary to have brominated flame retardants in the cushion of your sofa? Not are they safe enough, but is there a safer alternative? Is there a safer way to do it? It's a radically different question, and it can be answered today. Because you can look around at the safer alternatives, use the science of all the alternatives, and answer the question. Doesn't mean that it's the same answer 10 years from now, because with innovation, you keep asking it. You keep asking, is it necessary? And you get radical changes in products and consumption. And that actually is at the very heart of an initiative I'm working on right now with the state of California called the Green Chemistry Initiative, where we call it the Safer Consumer Product Regulations, and where we are going to require manufacturers to ask the question, is it necessary? We will select products that contain chemicals of concern, and any manufacturer who sells that product into the state of California, so it affects China, Japan, Tennessee, doesn't matter where it's made. If you want to sell in California, you have to answer the question, is it necessary? You have to look at all the alternatives and justify to us why you need to keep that toxic chemical in, or what is the safer alternative, so we can make sure it's truly safer. Because one of the things, as scientists, we need to be intellectually honest. We don't want what we call regrettable substitutes. We don't want you to switch something out. So for example, in California, we banned lead in jewelry. Well, the brilliant people in China said, great, we won't use lead, we'll use cadmium. Wonderful. So now we have to ban cadmium in jewelry. That's a never-ending path. What we want to do is ask, what is the safest way to make jewelry? That's what you use. All right, lessons learned. Three main lessons I learned. And one of them, I put a name to it. It's called the seduction of appeasement. What I realized was I was trying to make decisions, and I'm getting hit by all sides, right? Nobody's happy because the activists want their universe and industry wants theirs, and everybody's going in. And the danger, and I see this in leaders across the world, is they say, whoa, maybe I can find a path in the middle. Maybe I can appease people by saying, okay, you get mad on 3 things, and you get mad on 3 things, and therefore we've got an answer. The problem with that is that seduction is at the end of the day, you make crappy decisions. And at the end of the day, no one's really very impressed with you because they know what you're doing. They can see that, oh, you just wanted to keep me quiet over here and give me this, and you keep me quiet over here. And at the end, you end up with something that doesn't work. So that is something I've been thinking a lot about as I have to make decisions on every line of this 78-page regulation, trying to avoid that appeasement. The second thing that I learned, and I think this is something Andy talked about, is how do you make decisions and be true to yourself? What is my core value? What do I believe in? And that's the third. If you want people to follow, then what you need to do is express your vision in terms of what you believe. What do you believe? That is an incredibly compelling message. And so I want to end with the 4 things that I believe in. I believe that we must heal the earth from past practices and protect it from the harmful impacts of commerce. I believe that we must do that. I also believe in fairness. We must, as government, enforce the laws and make sure polluters don't continue to pollute. And I also believe in government. I deeply believe in government, and that's something that's not very popular these days to say. But I believe in it as service, as civil service. That's what it is. We are civil servants. You think about those words together. Civil society, service. That sounds so different than bureaucrat. But that's what we are. And that's what I am, and I deeply believe in the role of government. And finally, my mantra that I believe in most is that the world is run by those who show up. I show up every day when I go and get beaten over the head and accused of all sorts of things. And I also get lots of strokes too. So, I mean, it's, that I show up that way. But Judy is giving all of you an amazing opportunity to show up as young people in this world. Green U is the start. It's the way that you start showing up. You put your foot forward. You investigate what that feels like. But if we all show up together, that's where real change happens. So thank you.